Here we are in Spa. Tommy boy.
Morning.
Dindo on the phone as usual.
To Italy. It's a direct interview to Rai Uno.
And can you believe it? Just look at that weather. See that? That's supposed to be blue sky. You would never consider that it could rain in Spa. But yes, rain again, it does.
It's like Scotland.
Yeah. We're just walking into the car park now. See, Corvettes have no traction. And there you can see the paddock. So anyway,
Bonjour.
Tom and I, we're just going for a massage while Dindo does all the hard work in session 1. Oh, I've already said how wet it is out there in Spa, so you know, I'm in here. This is our little area, by the way. I thought you might want to see this. We've got all of our overalls hanging up, and here we've got my little section with the helmets, but you might notice one problem. They're both dark, and I need to change it to this with a special little rubber part on the top, because that's basically it's what's going to give us the ability to drive, because the water actually gets down in this section behind the visor when you're travelling at lower sort of speeds. When I say lower speeds, I mean anything under 120 miles an hour, and that sort of gets into the back of the visor area, and so you get water streaming down in the inside of here. So it's not an ideal scenario, but you know, that's one of the problems with an open top car. So anyway, let me get back to that and I'll speak to you later. Well, first day's over. Friday. 3 degrees it was at one point. Unbelievably cold. First session was wet, and Tommy boy was out. He ran pretty much the whole session, and then the second session was drier, but there were so many red flags, and when I got into the car right at the end for my little run, then it was red flagged, and that was it. So I only actually did out once past and in again. We didn't necessarily get a really good read on the situation. The Peugeots were fast in the wet and in the dry, but again it was a drying track, and you know who was out in the right tyre at what point, and then who got a clean lap before the red flags. Plus the other factor is that we're on Le Mans Aero, and here still, as much as it's got long straights, it's a high downforce track, and so in that side of things it hampered us, I think, with this cold conditions, trying to generate enough tyre temperature. Hopefully tomorrow's warmer. You wonder what drivers do after you know, you finished a hard day's testing or qualifying and things like that. Well, I'll show you. This is Dindo. Remember, he's Italian.
My nature is, you know, I born as a farmer, and I would like to continue.
Can you see this? He's on Facebook, farming on Facebook. The worrying thing is, he likes the sheep. Well, I'm back at the hotel after Saturday, and as I showed you, there was a little bit of a break in the cloud. Today was significantly warmer than yesterday. It's up to over 10 degrees Celsius track temperature, and that meant the tyres were working much better. We also made quite a lot of changes overnight. The car was a bit more consistent, but also it was a consistent dry track as well, and that helped. We got a better balance on it and more of a constant feeling. However, we're not quite there yet. The car's still got to be a little bit more compliant, I think, and comfortable over the race distance. But in qualifying, we ended up 6th, which wasn't ideal, but we're right in the mix with all the Peugeots and the sister car Audis as well. Basically, Tom qualified and he didn't get a clean run. He had a couple of cars spin in front of him, yellow flags, and also a small collision with the Straka, which slightly damaged the front aero, and that kind of compromised him a wee bit. But you know, from 6th on the grid, we can easily see there's a good fight ahead of us. Our sister car, Timo Bernhard, did a really good job. He was 2nd, and it's still 7/10 gap, which is probably about right, actually, considering we're running Le Mans aerodynamics and they're running high downforce on the Peugeots. And so I think once we get into the race situation, there'll be a lot of fun to be had. Just done the first stint. Couldn't believe how difficult it was. It rained on the grid with 5 minutes to go, and there's people going off in the outlap. Andre Lotterer, our teammate, had an incident. Then on the first lap there was a big crash at Toulouse, which wasn't a surprise because it was just completely wet on half of the track, and that's the problem here in Spa, is that half the track can be wet, half the track can be dry. Got into third position, second, and then Wurtz came past me. You know, they've got much more downforce in that condition. It's easy for them. They basically pulled away until it dried up, and then we were quite competitive and took a good call under yellow, got into the lead, and when I pitted we were 40 seconds in the lead. However, we were out of sync with the Peugeots, and now, can you believe it? They've red flagged the race. There's no electricity in the area, so they've got no timing and everything else, so everyone's now sitting out. We've done probably 2 hours 15 minutes, and we're sitting outside in the pit lane with a big red flag. So I don't know what will happen from here. All I can tell you is that was one tricky first and second stint.
The summary was a difficult race. We knew it already before coming here, but with a little bit higher temperature on the track and no rain, probably we could even fight a little bit more with the Peugeot on higher downforce. But at the end, I think podium is not a bad result, even though second place would have been better. But you know, we had to change the tire at the end because with such a low downforce, we could not leave Tom on the track in slick tire. Probably on slick tire, probably we would not have seen the podium at all.
Well, there you go. You got your end summary from Dindo Capello. From my point of view, the beginning of the race, as I said before, was a pretty tough one, but at the end of the race as well. And I've never ever seen a race that's been stopped in the middle because there was massive power failure. But anyway, I would say from our point of view overall, it served its purpose. We did everything for Le Mans with aerodynamics and the whole team practicing and everything else. We've got much more experience of the car, and personally I was quite encouraged about the performance we had when we were actually out there in the dry. So roll on Le Mans.
Yes.